for joining us on one of the most historic and important dates in the history of the United States, my birthday. Thank you. I don't love my birthday. It's not a big thing for me, but I will say this. I got exactly what I wanted this year.
Good morning, everyone. This is the first in a series of public hearings the committee will be holding as part of the House's impeachment inquiry.
That's right. I turned on the television this morning, and there it was, the impeachment hearing. Today, we got live testimony from Bill Taylor, who's the top U.S. diplomat in Ukraine, and George Kent of the State Department. They did not paint a flattering portrait of our president, and his bootlickers in the House didn't look too good either. Devin Nunes, who is a Republican from here in California, opened the show for his party, and it was obvious right off the bat that he was much more interested in defending the president than in getting the facts.
I now recognize Ranking Member Nunes for any remarks he may wish to make.
In a July open hearing of this committee following publication of the Mueller report, the Democrats engaged in a last-ditch effort to convince the American people that President Trump is a Russian agent.
Well, they got some new merchandise, I guess. The Republicans did their best. It really was something. Devin Nunes set the stupid bar to start it off. Then John Ratcliffe of Texas topped it immediately. Then Chris Stewart of Utah came in and took the stupid crowd for himself. And just when you thought that's it, we've reached the bottom level of human intelligence, in comes Jim Jordan from Ohio to take gold. People were actually laughing at him during the hearing. There he is, sporting his quid pro comb-over for the invasion. Each party had an attorney on hand to ask questions. The Republicans brought in a lawyer named Steve Castor, and since he couldn't ask about the facts because those don't look so good for Trump, all he was left with was trying to get Bill Taylor to say that sending Rudy Giuliani to Ukraine to shake down their government isn't such an outlandish thing for a president to do.
The discussion of the irregular channel you described, and in fairness, this irregular channel of diplomacy, it's not as outlandish as it could be. Is that correct?
It's not as outlandish as it could be. Yeah, I agree, Mr. President.
In other words, it could have been more outlandish if, like, for instance, instead of Rudy Giuliani, Trump sent Gary Busey to Ukraine. That would be more outlandish. But we did get some new McNuggets of information today. Bill Taylor said a member of his staff was there when Trump's ambassador to the EU, Gordon Sondland, called the president. The staff member said he overheard the call on which Trump specifically asked about the investigation. And after that call, Sondland told them Trump cares more about investigating Biden than he does about Ukraine. In other words, there was another call, also perfect, I'm sure. Taylor said Trump wanted the Ukrainian president to go on CNN to announce an investigation of Joe Biden. This is just, by the way, this is a stupid plan. Just illegality aside, this is the dumbest plan ever. So Ambassador Sondland tried to explain this to the group as if it was a normal thing in the world of business.
Ambassador Sondland tried to explain to me that President Trump is a businessman. When a businessman is about to sign a check to someone who owes him something, the businessman asks that person to pay up before signing the check. Ambassador Volker used the same language several days later while we were together at the Yalta European Strategy Conference. I argued to both that the explanation made no sense.
It doesn't make sense. Because if the businessman is writing a check, why is the other person paying up? Isn't the person writing the check the one paying up? And when has Donald Trump ever paid up for anything? It was a bad analogy, but this is a stressful day for the president. The Popeyes near the White House, they had to waive their 2 chicken sandwiches per person limit today for him. The president called the hearing a joke, a sham, and a hoax, and he said he didn't watch it. White House spokesperson said the president was too busy working. Right. They might as well have said he was at a Zumba class, because that is... They should hold a hearing to investigate that claim. Trump said he didn't watch a minute of the hearing, but this exclusive footage obtained inside the president's private quarters says otherwise.
Following the call with President Trump, the member of my staff asked Ambassador Sondland what President Trump thought about Ukraine. Ambassador Sondland responded that President Trump cares more about the investigations of Biden, which Giuliani was pressing for.
Is everything okay, sir?
Chicken! More chicken!
Original recipe, sir?
Extra crispy, you idiot!
Yes, extra crispy. Yes, Mr. President.
The State Department's lead.
Throw a few potato skins in there, too, to be safe. As the hearings were happening, he was not watching them. This is what he was working on. He was tweeting and retweeting all of these things from right-wing Twitter feeds. In between hosting one of his favorite foreign strongmen, Turkish President Erdogan. Trump said he's a big fan of Erdogan, who last month notably slaughtered our allies, the Kurds. So, of course, Trump invited him to the White House. Senators from both parties urged him to rescind the invitation, but Trump said he's a good friend. The way he treats the president of Turkey, you'd think he was the president of fried chicken. You really would. But a new round of testimony begins again Friday, and we will be watching that, too. You know, hi, I'm Jimmy Kimmel, and I am not allowed to eat this cookie until you click the subscribe button. So please click now. I'm hungry.